Well, there's the gamble you took.
Got lucky
to
and came
try
back
and hit
out.
the shot, because that lie was just horrible.
not
So
very
what
good.
happened was you tried to play a cut shot, couldn't get the club down in there through the grass. The grass grabbed the club, turned it, and you went into the trees here to the right, got lucky, and it kicked out. Let's play another shot, and let's just take an iron and lay it up. I have a ball here.
8-iron?
Take an 8-iron. Now this would be the proper way to play this shot. Let's put it down here in a similar lie, down in the grass. We're going to take a lofted iron. You can take an 8 or 9 iron. He only needs to advance this, 140 yards or so, and he's going to have a relatively short shot to the green. The key is to try and take enough loft to get the ball up out of the grass, get it going down the fairway, not try and get the ball on the green. Put yourself in position where you can play the next shot. Now, a couple things you've got to worry about here. We do have a bunker on the left that we want to avoid. So you've taken enough club where you can shoot right at the green, and you can't reach that bunker in front of the green.
This should give me enough yardage.
Same thing. You want the club a little bit open because you're trying to just beat down on it just a little. Good shot. One thing to remember, when you get in trouble, get back on the fairway. It doesn't matter if you're in the rough or if you're over here in these trees. The whole goal is to get your ball back in play. Claude took an 8-iron, kind of popped it up in the air a little, but he still left himself only 100 yards or so from the green. He's got a chance to get this ball on the green with no problem. You know, the mental side of golf plays right into our course management. In other words, when you get off in trouble, the first thing I want you to have in your mind is a vision of how do I get this ball back in play. Don't always try the fantastic shot or the dangerous shot. Sometimes it's better to pitch your ball back in the fairway and go from there. Always remember, sometimes there's such thing as a good bogey, because by trying to take the high-risk shot, a lot of times you're going to make a triple or a double, and it'll ruin your score. So in course management, put your ball back in play, and then try and get on the green with the next shot. It's a very important thing for you to remember. If you'll do this, and you'll pick the right shot at the right time, you're going to shoot better scores. Now let Claude and I go over some faults and fixes of some of the stuff we've already covered. You know, one of the amazing things about my son Claude, not only is he the director of all the instructors at the Butch Harmon School of Golf, he can play golf either left-handed or right-handed. He's going to hit a right-handed shot here for you. We're going to talk about a common fault that we see in most average golfers. Now there's a ball that sliced to the right, you fell away from it. The reason being is you were standing too far from that ball. What happens when you stand too far from it? Gravity wants to pull you towards the ground. You fight that by standing up and falling back and cutting across. Take this set up again. Now let your right hand come off the club. As you can see, his right hand is back here by his left. Let's have you move in a little bit closer. Now use this drill. There we go. You see the right hand should come off right across from where it was on the club. This is a good guide for you to see how far you stood from the ball. The other thing, because Claude was too far away from the ball, he ended up falling away from the shot. All right, Claude, let's hit one from here. Put a good swing on it. Good swing. What we saw, because of him being too far from the ball, he wasn't able to make a good aggressive move back into the ball. We see this all the time in our schools.
I think most people feel like if they get further away, they can get a little more power and create a little more distance. And one of the big problems we see in the average golfers, they're a little off balance as they hit most of their shots. So if you can get in and feel like your weight's more on the balls of your feet and centered, very similar to an athletic stance, taking a cue from baseball where hitters in baseball get their weight out over their feet this way. So by getting in this position, it gives you a little better chance as you follow through to finish with your weight going forward and not falling back.
Good point to remember. Your weight always goes in the direction the club's going. On that first shot, because Claude was too far from the ball, he fell back away from it, cut across, and hit a weak slice. If you practice that, it'll help you drive better.
Remember, when you stand too far from the ball, you tend to fall backwards. So do Butch's drill. Drop one hand and make sure it comes off right where it was on the club. This will dictate where you need to stand and help you move through the ball.
One thing I want you to remember when your ball's out in the rough like this and you have a lie that's this bad, or I can't even really get the club squarely on the ball, the main objective is to get the ball back in the fairway, back in play where you can go with your next shot to the green. You have to take a very lofted club. I'm going to take an 8-iron here. I probably won't be able to hit this 8-iron 115, 120 yards out of this lie, and I've got to do a couple things different than I would on a normal 8-iron shot. First of all, I'm going to play this ball back in my stance, just a little back of center. I'm going to actually open the club face a little before I grip it so that I can really make sure that this club comes in a little open. What happens in this high grass like this is the grass wants to wrap around the hosel of the club. The toe tends to go over. Ball doesn't get up in the air, doesn't go very far, sometimes doesn't even get out of the grass. So it's important to play your ball back in your stance, club face open. I'm going to create a more upright swing so I can beat down on this ball. The last thing I want you to remember is you have to hold very firmly with your left hand because you don't want to let this club release over. You want to hold it through the ball to jump the ball up out of the grass. Let me hit it for you. Club face open, ball back in my stance. Pretty steep backswing. Hit right down and through. Remember, when you get in this situation, get your ball back in play, you shoot lower scores.
When you have a bad lie in the rough, just get the ball back into play. For this lie, take a lofted club and play the ball back in your stance. Open the club face in order to get through the high grass. Swing more upright in order to beat down on the ball. Don't let the club release during the follow-through. This will help the ball jump out of the grass.
I think the thing that made it so wonderful for the Harmon boys, not just for myself, was that the people we hung around. I mean, I grew up as a kid watching Ben Hogan practice, sitting on his bag down at Seminole, or when he came to New York at Wingfoot, listening to he and my dad talk, because Mr. Hogan and my father were best of friends. Craig Wood was a member at Wingfoot. Craig Wood was the first pro here at the Lucayan Golf Club back in the early 60s. My second brother, Craig, is named after Craig Wood. Craig Wood Harmon is his name. The fact that we got to hang around that, the great Tommy Armour was a member at Wingfoot when I was a kid, and to listen to him tell his stories and have the opportunity to play golf with these great players was just unbelievable. And then you look at the assistants my father had, the Jackie Burks, the Mike Suchaks, the Dick Mayers, the guys that went on to win major championships. I mean, it was an environment that was just unbelievable. It was the greatest training grounds a young kid could ever have to be around golf. I mean, Dave Marr, who was like my older brother, won the PGA, was an assistant for my father when he was 19. I mean, just these experiences that I can't even begin to tell you how much they've meant to me and to my younger brothers in our life. And the beauty of it is it's all because of this great game. It's all because of this wonderful game of golf that we were able to enjoy that and be part of that. And I think it's touched all of our lives in the way we conduct ourselves and the way we do things in this business. Well, Claude, good layup out of that rough. You put it down here, about 90 yards from the green.
Yards.
Normally a pretty easy shot, but because of this wind behind us, the wind tends to beat the ball down a little, so you got a couple options here. You could throw it in fairly low, but with that big bunker in front of you, I don't think that's the shot. I think it's just a nice sand wedge shot. And you can get aggressive here. We can go with the flag. There is a bailout room to the left if you want to use it, but I think a good, nice little sand wedge shot, 90-yard swing. Knock it up there close.
All right.
Claude, that's a pretty good shot, but the wind's got it taken, might be a little long.
I think that might be just over the back edge.
It could be on the green on the back edge. One thing you have to remember, what we've seen is a pretty simple wedge shot from 90 yards, but because of the wind being straight behind us, as soon as the ball got up in the air, it pushed the ball a little further. If it was an open green in the front, wouldn't have been too hard a shot. You could have taken it in a little lower, taken the wind out of the shot. Because of the bunker in front, He had to play the ball in the air. The wind took it a little further than he normally would. This is something you have to think about when you're playing this shot. You have to use the wind, think about the wind, even though it's a 90-yard shot. That was a pretty good shot, and considering where you came from back in the rough down there, you still have a chance where you're probably going to make par.
It's better than yours, though. You're
I'm
in the
not
bunker.
in very good shape buried in this bunker.
No chance.
Excuse me?
No chance.
I'll show you a chance.
No chance.
I think one of the things that made my dad so unique in the fact that he had such a great eye is what's helped us in our teaching, because we grew up around that. We grew up watching our father teach, watching him with his faults and fixes, knowing that if you see this, this is how you fix it. And I think at an early age, having that availability to see that was wonderful. And then in reality, the more you teach, the better you get at it. You have to keep an open mind. I know the way I teach in the year 2001 is totally different than maybe the way I taught in 1990, because you learn more, you see more things, you hear more great teachers talk about ways to do it. You know, in reality, I like to say all the time when I do seminars, I haven't invented anything. Everything I know I've learned from other great teachers, I've learned from experiences, I've learned from seeing golf swings. Every time I give a lesson, I learn something, because I see a guy get a club in a certain position and all of a sudden get it back to square and impact, and you go, wow, how do you do that coming from there? And you put that in your memory bank, and you'll see someone else down the road, it could be 3 years later, that does the same thing and can't get the club square at impact, and all of a sudden the light goes off, wow, I saw this guy and he was here and this is how he did it. And these are all things that help to make you better at what you do. Well, Claude, it looks like I paid the price for trying to play an aggressive shot here. What happened was I had a chance to play in the middle of the green with that 5-wood. I took the aggressive line to go at the flag, came up just a little short in this bunker. Now I've really got a tough shot. I've got this ball buried down in this bunker, trying to hit a shot downwind. You know, you played the right idea. You laid it up, you got your ball on the back of the green, you're now in better shape than I am.
A little easier shot,
Course
too.
management. We've talked about it on every shot we've hit on this hole. Let me go in this bunker and show you guys how to hit this. Couple things we've got to do different when the ball's buried in the bunker. I've really got to make a swing to come down steep in the sand. Because of the lip in front of me, I've got to really pop this ball up in the air. It's going to have overspin on it, so I'm not going to have to worry about it rolling when it gets on the green. Some things that you'll do different on the buried lie that you wouldn't do on the regular lie. Number one, I'm going to play this ball about the middle of my stance. You've actually heard or read a lot about playing these buried lies with a closed club face. Well, this wouldn't work right here. If I use the closed club face, I'm going to hit it right into this bank right in front of me. So I've got to have my club face open, and I've got to create a motion where I pick this club straight up, no follow through, just stick the club in the ground. The force of the club going down into the ground pushes the ball in the sand straight up in the air. Let's see if I can get out of here. It's my own fault too for being in here, because the whole show is about course management. I was smart off the tee, not too smart on the second shot. Now I had to pay the price. All right, buried lie in the bunker. Pop it up, get it rolling out on the green. Always remember, when your ball's buried in the bunker, first option, get on the green. If it gets close, that's good. I now have got a chance, about a 15-footer, got a chance to make my birdie. I got greedy with a second shot, but I played a pretty good explosion. Let's see if I can make this putt. You know, believe it or not, you can practice course management even after you're done with your round. What I mean by that is if you've had trouble with some shots out on the golf course, whether it was recovery shots or just regular shots, go spend 15 or 20 minutes on the practice tee and practice those shots again. Try and recreate the situation in your mind and then try and recreate it on the practice tee. That way the next time you play, when you get in that situation, you'll be ready for it. Course management takes place before you play, while you play, and even after you play. Now let's go back and look at some of the faults and fixes of some of the shots we've talked about already. One of the big problems I see in teaching when people have little 90-yard wedge shots like this is they tend to make much too long a swing, almost the same length of swing for this 90-yard shot than they would with their driver, which means they have to decel into the ball, usually causing them to throw their hands at the shot, hit behind it, chunk it, and not hit it far enough. What you want to remember when you're hitting these wedge shots is you don't need a full backswing, you do need to accelerate through the ball. What you want to do setup wise is play the ball about the middle of your stance. Hands are going to be just slightly forward. You only want to take the club back about halfway and then accelerate right through. The important thing to remember when you're playing these wedge shots into the green, don't make a long swing. Shorter swing, good acceleration. You make good contact, you get it up by the hole.
When hitting a short wedge shot, position the ball in the middle of your stance, press your hands slightly forward. Now shorten your backswing, only take it back about halfway, and be sure to accelerate through.
I want to talk to you about an uphill lie in the bunker. Difficult shot. You have to do a few things differently on this shot than you would on a normal bunker shot. The first thing you have to do is tilt your shoulders to create an equal playing field. What I mean by this is we've got to get on the same level of slope that the ball's on. Swing-wise, I'm going to try and swing the club up the slope. If I was to come in here and stand square, I'd end up sticking the club in the ground into the slope of the bunker, probably not getting the ball out of the bunker. I'm going to play this ball about the middle of my stance. And the last thing I have to tell you, because of swinging up the slope, this ball is going to come out much higher. So I've got to hit it a little bit harder. Create an equal playing field. Levels are the same, shoulder level, the level of the slope that the ball's on. Now I want to swing up the slope. You'll use this method when you get in the bunker on these uphill lies. Remember, create that equal playing field, swing up the slope. Your bunker game's going to improve tremendously.
When you have an uphill lie in a bunker, position your body on the same slope. Play the ball in the middle of your stance. Now swing hard and up the slope.
Probably the greatest experience I can tell you is when I worked in Morocco for King Hassan II. He's probably the greatest man I've ever met in my life. I learned more about life from this man than anyone else. Now, I had never met His Majesty. My father had been there teaching him for a couple of years, and being the eldest son in my family, and that in the Arab world, if you're the eldest son, you're kind of the heir to everything. So I was asked to stay over and play, and His Majesty was pretty much a beginner at that time, and the three of us played, myself, Julius Boros, and King Hassan. And we played the first couple holes, and we got to this par 5 on the third hole, and His Majesty got in this bunker to the left of the green, and because he was a beginner, and that was the only reason, he just never really got the ball out. Well, Julius Boros, who was notoriously a great bunker player, went down in the bunker to give him a lesson. And it's not that he gave him a bad lesson. His Majesty was just a beginner, and he never did get the ball out, which didn't matter because we went on to the next hole and played the 9 holes. And His Majesty left, and we thanked him for the pleasure of being with him, and he went back in his palace. Next day, the king came out, and we started to play golf, just he and I. And it was a wonderful experience. I mean, obviously he was a beginner, and I was trying to show him some things, and he hit a few good shots in the first couple holes, and we got to that third hole where he'd been in the bunker, and he was putting on the green, and I looked over to the left, and the bunker wasn't there anymore, and I'm just staring at this area, and there's a beautiful sodded area with flowers and a little fountain and bird bath fountain in it, and the king saw me looking over there, and he goes, "Very bad lesson. I didn't want to remember it anymore." And the bunker was gone, and that's when I realized, wow, this guy's got some power. Now that's course management. Claude, your ball did go a little through the green, although you got a pretty straightforward little chip shot here. What are you going to do?
Well, I've got a 9-iron. We're a little down the green here, a little down the hill, so I don't really have to hit this golf ball too far. I'm just going to take a little 9-iron, a little back in my stance, and just try and pop it over this fringe and let the slope do the work. It's very important on these shots that you place the club down first, then go ahead and align your body, and just a nice smooth stroke.
Well, that was a good play, but it was an aggressive play because of the fact we're downhill, down grain. You've got about 3 different options on ways to play this shot. Claude chose one of them, which was a pretty good option. The problem is it's pretty fast going down here. Dave, bring Claude's bag in here again. Let's try this with a sand wedge. Let's have you put a sand wedge down there. Good. Now what he's going to do different with the sand wedge is the sand wedge will put a little more spin on this shot so he can carry it a little further.
So I'm just going to hinge my wrists a little, put a little more spin on it, and this will go a little higher in the air. Go in.
Now that was excellent. What you saw is that ball came down a lot softer because of the loft of the club. The last shot you can play here, come on in here, Dave, is you can actually take one of your fairway woods, take your 5-wood, and play the 5-wood chip. What he's going to do is actually putt this ball with a 5-wood. Because of the loft of the club, it's going to get it above this grass in front of him, and it's going to run down there just like a putt. Let's see that one.
So the only thing I'm going to do differently is choke down a little, stand a little closer to the ball, and then just make an elongated putt. You should just knock this right on the green.
Good shot. So what you saw was 3 different shots you could play from this position just off the green. We've had a great time with you today talking to you about course management. We talked about why not to hit a driver sometimes, when to lay up, when to be aggressive. We showed you all kinds of fixes and faults that you can use while you're out playing. Claude and I have had a great time today being with you. I hope you'd enjoyed this tape, and I hope you'll think about your course management next time you play. Let's go see if we can make these putts.
I'm going to try and make this one.
You know, I think the most important thing in teaching golf as well as playing golf is having fun, having a good time. One of the things I learned years ago from my father is if you can create an environment where you're having fun, you'll learn better. And that's what we try and do in our teaching, not only in our personal lessons, but at the Butch Harmon School of Golf, whether we're in Las Vegas or whether we're here on Grand Bahama Island. If you have a good time, you're going to learn better. The other thing, if I could say I have a philosophy on teaching, it would be to make it as simple as possible. My dad told us years ago, if you can teach at a 2nd grade level, meaning a youngster in the 2nd grade can understand you, you're going to be more successful. What I see today and what I read is people are trying to impress you with what they know about the golf swing and their vocabulary, and I think it gets confusing. So what our statement is and the way we try and do things is we create an atmosphere of fun, we allow you to have a good time, and then we put it in language that's easy to understand. Golf is one of the most difficult games in the world. It's hard to make changes, it's hard to learn. But if you create an atmosphere of fun, we put it in a language that it's easy to understand, I think you'll get better, you'll improve. If you improve, you're going to have more fun, and after all, that's what we're after. We're out here to have a good time, and at the Butch Harmon School of Golf, we want to guarantee you a great golfing experience.
The Butch Harmon School of Golf and the Firelight Corporation would like to thank the Arlucaya staff for their help and over 1,300 lavish rooms. Arlucaya was the ultimate place to create Butch Harmon's ultimate golf.